people on that street, so, yeah, I'll check into it.
Might be worth a knock to the little
Maybe
house.
one little house that I could think of. But as far as, like I said, the landowners, you mean it's just property that's touching ours, right?
Yeah, adjacent, and I mean, in public hearing, you may have neighbors that are across the street or down the holler.
Okay.
They could be
All right.
anyone. So. But what we send out is information to adjacent land owners, so anything that's
Okay.
touching, so. Any further comments or questions?
I have a question. In paragraph 5, the kennel shall comply with all regulations. I just want to make sure that we are clear in that it's not just the kennel, but you have to have the authority to say who's ever staying, that the dogs and cats that are coming are appropriately vaccinated and meet all of those requirements. I would maybe suggest that we include that as well, just.
Sean, I'm going to mute you real quickly so we don't get feedback, but you're on with us now on the direct line.
Okay, good. I don't know if you got my message, but on the one that affects Nathan, is that a complete vacation of the special use permit? Or just a partial vacation?
Doesn't have anything to do with the property with the special use permit. It's the adjacent one.
I'm still here, but I'm trying to get back and run through the feedback. But my only concern is that maybe something we need to do if we're cherry picking these special use permits. It would have to be an all or nothing proposition on that.
I'm texting him, he'll get it.
Sorry, that actually gave me a second to reorganize my thoughts. I just think that potentially in,
I'm going to go back to the other room and hopefully it's working out through the,
in paragraph 5, I just want to make sure you are protected in regards to people coming in and bringing in animals that don't meet that requirement, that you have maybe a plan in place or mitigation to say that these are the requirements based on the animal control language, and that you also enforce them from a county perspective. So not just you are protected, but the owners of the pets are protected, and then other people's pets are protected.
So typically, there's a waiver that you sign, and most kennels, have a basic waiver. They're pretty much general the same. Same thing for grooming shops, that you sign in for your pet, but then also, we're going to require the typical vaccines that all kennels require: rabies, distemper, and like I said, Bordetella is optional. Not all kennels require that one. It's also not state mandated. It's also very short, and it's also not very effective vaccine. I don't know how much you know about that vaccine, but that's one that a lot of people just don't get. So that one may or may not be something that we would need to require. But like I said, most kennels, if you look around, it's distemper, rabies. Your distemper is your distemper parvo. You're like 7-way shot. So we would just be doing the same thing that most places do.
I guess I'll just have a question. Have you and Mr. Cave had a conversation about how scheduled or non-scheduled visits will occur? Are you pretty much familiar with the?
Oh, you
Their
mean
process.
as far as coming in the facility?
Mhm.
Oh, he just said that he could drop in at any time during business hours,
Okay.
and that's fine with me.
Have y'all had a conversation, though? Have y'all met before, or?
No.
Y'all have not? Okay.
No. Oh, wait, is that the animal control? Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes,
did.
it is.
Yes, I have met
It
him.
is,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because he came out with the skunks and check on the dogs. And,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yes. What are you doing with your feces and your water runoff and discharge of your water?
So we compost, and of course we have a regular septic right now. But the health department, I can't remember her name, but Claire maybe? She did mention, that we would need to put in a commercial drain field.
Okay.
So that's what we would be doing. I mean, I'm certain the contractor would handle all that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions for the applicant or Mr. Nichols? Okay. Go ahead, Carney.
So I saw in Greg's letter that he was talking about our definition of kennel also includes breeding. Was there any consideration to put in the special use permit that this does not include breeding?
Oh, please help yourself.
Huh?
You can definitely add that if you would like.
That is not language that I had drafted for this. Certainly, if, you know, if this body feels that way, we're happy to include that language, if that's a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the skunk we already had the issue with the skunk and the puppy. No breeding.
No,
I think that,
I was just trying to follow the bouncing ball in Greg's letter, so.
Curious, would that be a separate special use permit for breeding versus kennel, or is it all?
well, the problem that the animal control officer pointed out is that there are multiple definitions of kennel. We've defined what that is in our ordinance for the purpose of these permits. VDEX and others define kennel in a broader way, and I think what he was intending to say in his letter, but say, is to try to narrow the scope to what we've been asked for, so we don't get scope creep later and are adding things that maybe were not intended.
Just looking at the panel, do we want to add that language, just to have it in here? The applicant seemed like she's okay with that, just, or do we think it's redundant and excessive? Steve?
I'm fine with it like it is.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, since our local ordinance is what controls this, the fact that it's slightly different from a state ordinance or something, I don't think there's any difference here.
Okay.
I would think it's
No?
necessary.
Yeah, good, yeah, all right, consensus, and it is, all right.
Mr. Allen, one other question. I see where Mr. Cave had made note that the applicant said they'd be comfortable having up to 15 animals, but on the draft it shows 30. Is that something that changed, or is that something I missed?
The 30 animals is based on the narrative that the applicant presented at the time of her application. So, and that was and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Lillard, but I believe that the intention was to do less, with peak demand being it might go up to 30,
Yeah.
but generally less.
Yeah, it's just the way that, you know, the kennel business kind of runs. You've got a few months of your peak season, and then you kind of use that to get through your dry season. So, yeah, you won't usually run it that much most of the year.
I just seen the difference in there. Thank you.
And so the language that we have right now in our proffers is that at no time you would have no more than 45 animals at peak is what,
Absolutely.
we're all in agreement to that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may take a
Please,
liberty
sir.
and interject here. I do want to say that our definition of kennel does include, it says a place designed, prepared to house, brood, breed, handle, or otherwise keep or care for dogs, cats, for sale or in return for compensation. So unless you limit, you know, those uses, those will be permitted under our ordinance and under this permit, unless you say otherwise.
Thank you. All right, now that everybody has heard that language specifically, still have the same opinion, or do we want to add in additional language to restrict the breeding?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, my feeling is, I don't remember this coming up with any of the other kennels in Madison, so I would think this would kind of follow the same special use permit structure, and if we wanted to change the definitions to make it, you know, more restrictive, that might be the way to go, as opposed to putting more stringent conditions just on this one.
Thank you, Ms. Cowan. Any feedback to Mr. Cowan's points? Is that how we want to go with this one? Pete, any, same, everyone? Clay, anyone down there? Everyone good? Okay. All right, final questions for the applicant or Mr. Nichols before we go to public comment? Please.
So, being it was just mentioned about the drain field, does that need to be put in there, or is that going to be part of the the regular building permit?
The applicant will need to file a site plan before building any commercial structure. It will include review by the health department in which they will specify, or they will review the designed plan for that. So whatever the health department requires for a commercial building for that particular use, the applicant will have to construct to continue.
VDOT in this was also didn't have a comment, or they weren't there for the regular PDRC. Has that been addressed with?
When the applicant files their site plan, VDOT will review their specific plans. Often these days, they've been asking for sight lines a lot before they're approving entrances. They want a surveyor to go and measure how far you can see to ensure that you have safe distances. And so it could come to pass that the entrance has to shift one way or the other. You can see pretty well from that spot, but that is something that could happen during the site plan phase of this before construction. But yes, VDOT will certainly have a chance to weigh in. When we ask for these things for permits and rezoning, they typically give us the same answer is, well, when we see a site plan, we'll let you know. So that way they have what you really want to do rather than a concept. This process is a concept, almost an abstract.
Isn't that one of the criteria for approval of a SUP is that VDOT does have comments?
So it is, but what you're going to get a comment that says, and what we usually get is, when we see the site plan, we'll let you know. That's their comment. Because otherwise, you're going to make somebody do engineering and get a site plan for VDOT to give you a comment, and maybe they do or don't get a special use permit, and it was for naught. So you have to be okay with having that activity, and then you can see if you can check the other regulatory boxes.
Anything else, Mike? Okay. General public, or case-specific public comment from anyone in the room or anyone online? Nope. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Case number RZ-04-26-01, Ace Country Holdings LLC. It's a rezoning application. This is their first workshop. Will Alvarez, on behalf of Ace Country Holdings LLC, has submitted a rezoning application for 3 parcels identified as Madison County Tax Maps 55-43B, 55-38G, and 55-38H. The parcels are currently zoned Agriculture A1 and are proposed to be rezoned to Business General B1. Mr. Nichols.
All right. So give me just a second here. I'll put some on the screen. So our applicant has purchased the 29 tastings and these parcels that surround it, these 3 parcels, and has asked to rezone them to business as they operate a RV sales service business and rental business. This is a good location for business uses. We've rezoned other property recently along Highway 29. It's adjacent to existing B1 property, and so the expansion seems natural. The big discussion item for this particular case, for these parcels being rezoned to business, is that the parcel here currently contains a dwelling. It exists, it's permitted, it's used as a dwelling, it's fine like it is. So there will presumably be spillover onto this property from the adjacent business uses. So the question for discussion is, for this particular parcel, the applicant would like to use the dwelling for an employee, somebody to monitor the property. They want to, have security for their inventory, et cetera. Since this exists as a dwelling, should it be rezoned, the way I read this is that it would be a non-conforming use and could continue without any need for a special use permit or being in conflict with, with any other uses on the property. It exists now, it can continue in accordance with Article 13 of our ordinance, which we can look at if you like. If you all disagree that Article 13 does not say that the non-conforming use could continue, we can discuss the need for a special use permit to continue to operate it, but that seems unnecessary. Or the applicant has said that if this is, would be prohibitive of rezoning the other parcels for their needs, they would simply remove this particular parcel from their application. But know that, you're likely to have some business use spill over, and are you okay with that? Again, I just see this as being a non-conforming use unless abandoned. But that is the only thing that I see that really has, a whole lot of need for discussion. But certainly, whatever you all like to discuss, we will do so.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Well, let's go to questions for Alan first on this one, and then we'll go to the applicant and have them, because it's a pretty detailed speech. Any questions for Alan?
Can you pull up that Article 13, Alan?
I
Sorry.
sure can. Hang on. Continuation. Hang on, I got to look at it a little closer where I can actually read it, or make it bigger. That might be better. So, changes in zoning, whenever the boundaries of a zone are changed, any uses of land, building which become non-conforming as a result of such change shall become subject to the provisions of this article. Such uses shall automatically become eligible for any and all necessary permits needed to continue the use. So you cannot enlarge or expand the use, but you can continue the use.
Alan, I think this is what you said, we just make to clarify it. He has purchased 5343F, which is already B1, is that correct?
Correct.
And then he wants to also change 38H, 38G, and 43B. into
Correct.
B1. Okay. And it's just that one that has the existing single-family dwelling.
Correct. He's incorporating the others into, one, for the use of one business.
Alan, if we put it all in the B1, you want to leave the house out, can you do the house under a special use permit if you put the rest of it in B1?
You can, but I don't think you need to. I just think it becomes a non-conforming use. If the applicant came to us and asked for a special use, it existed before the change in zoning, so there is a provision for that. But it almost seems redundant in this case. But yes, if the applicant has applied for a special use permit, there's an avenue to do that. The intent, and the applicant can certainly expand on this in a moment, but the intent is to have an employee living there, but say to keep the property secure.
You can also use it for overflow.
Yes, so the area around would be overflow and, of the business, and so the idea is to use the property for both uses.
Any further questions specific to Alan? All right, seeing none, would y'all like to introduce yourselves and give us a little bit more background on the project?
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for coming in late. I was stuck at Lowe's trying to buy building material for this new project right here. We went over this briefly in the last session we had. What we're trying to do is bring in motorhome rentals, service, and as well as sales. We are also trying to do rentals for Madison County for the U-Haul and other trucks, pickup trucks, that kind of thing. That's the we've been in business for 14 years, and we moved out from Northern Virginia. And this is a prime location for us because we monitored a lot of our clientele came into Northern Virginia.
Then I would
and
encourage
they
you to put a
wanted
letter in the file
come
for
to
this decision.
Pardon?
Skyline Drive.
I confirm all of his comments, the views, but I wanted to tell you that I agree with your evaluation of it in terms of the non-conforming use. And I would encourage you to put a letter in the file.
Got it.
Something comes up in 20 years, there's some indication that the board considered what we should.
Happy to write a zoning determination on that issue to state a non-conforming use. Stick it in the file. Understood, Mr. Gregg.
Apologies for the technical issue. Please continue.
Okay, so any questions for me to kind of elaborate? I'll be glad to kind of answer.
A couple of quick questions. Can you give us an idea of how many units you're considering here, and also what kind of a parking surface are you thinking about? How do you plan to deal with is the existing building there that used to be 29 Tastings, is that going to be like your office? Can
It's
you fill it some?
primarily the rental place is going to be operating from here. That's why we want the extension to the back so that we can use that for parking also. Not the house, the extension on the south side. That's one of the concerns. For now, we have, I think, approximately 20 vehicles out there. With the square footage out there, as we've measured, is under 10,000 square feet, which we are using. So that's where we'll start the operation from, and gradually build it up.
Are you, what I'm trying to get, I guess, is the expansion area that you're talking about. Do you plan to pave that? Is it going to be a permeable surface? Is it going to be
Yeah,
gravel?
for now, it's going to be gravel, but potentially we'll have some hard surface because some of these RVs are heavy. So if they start sinking into the soil, we'll have to tarmac. So we'll take the requisite permission for that. For now, Tasty does have a small patch, which is tarmac. And that's where the customers will come in, and then from there on, we'll take it to the gravel area.
Okay, thank you. You say you're going to be dealing with also potentially repair service?
Yeah, we have another lot which is also in Madison, and we bought a house in Madison. We Madison Birds now, so that's 9 acres, which is about a mile and a half down on Seminole. 6485 is the address out there. So that's the 9-acre stretch. Our main focus would be to have a RV terminal out there. So basically, we'll have a full facility for RVs going up and down the road, or even attract people from Northern Virginia to come in who are our clientele already, and they want to move with us for parking purposes also. That's going to be a good potential revenue for the county also.
Okay, so your proposed repair service site is not the same location?
No, this is just going to be a check-in site, and we do require, when we check in, that it should be serviceable to rent for the second time, next customer. So we will do a check-in, and we've requested for a canopy to be placed out there if it's inclement weather or hot, so that people can walk into the shaded area and get checked out.
Okay, thank you.
So essentially, you're looking at sort of like a U-Haul type of apparatus.
Yeah, we
They
have
check in, you check out, they can rent from you, they can come, they can drop them off and pick them up, that type of thing.
absolutely, yeah, that's the business plan.
Thank you.
Will you require that the vehicles be dumped of septic before they come in, or will you have a
Yeah,
facility?
that's a SOP. When they take the RVs, it's empty, they bring it back empty, we ensure that, otherwise it's a heavy penalty. They have to pay $150, though. They don't want to do that. I think we have Pines up the RV facility also, they have dump facility. And we will try to do this at the next location. They're working on the septic field so that we can do it there too.
And Mr. Nichols, if I may interject, do you know the parcel number of the industrial that they have existing, just so we can show everybody? And maybe I'll explain that from PDRC. So as he's mentioned, there's two different sites. One, and I saw you working on both of them this weekend, so yeah, I know y'all were busy. But this is the one site that he's referencing, and nothing pertaining to this rezoning. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware that this one's kind of out of the case. And I believe from PDRC, this is the one where you have the soil scientist enlarging the drain field to be a commercial drain field. Is that correct?
That, you talk about the 64857.
It is the other one. Okay. So that's where they're going to put the drain field. But this is the second site that is being referenced tonight, just so everyone's on the same page.
No, the one subject to the application is up here at Shelby. They have other property as well.
Exactly.
Do you plan on washing and cleaning vehicles here?
Typically, they bring them back clean. They've got they go over clean, come back clean. But if we need to do that, we do have a couple of opportunities to work with, options, sorry, not opportunities. We have it's called, it's non-wash, but it's a material we use to clean up the RVs, so. It's
On the
foam
outside?
on the outside.
Yeah, on a lot of those aluminum trailers, you have to use acid to clean those. You won't be
No,
using anything like that.
No.
Okay.
It's not going to be, if it's a wash, it's going to be like a minimal water usage.
And then again, just what was mentioned at PDRC, the rentals will be the primary business, but there could be ATV sales or RV sales as well
Yeah, it's gonna be
on the phases.
We're trying to get ATVs in there too, and it's all basically tourism based. So. But we put the U-Haul for the convenience of the county. So.
Any further questions for the applicant or Mr. Nichols on this one? Alan, do you have comments, or do you? No, okay.
We did our 29 corridor study, and I love to see a good candidate.
Thank you very much for considering Madison.
All right, seeing no other questions, is there public comment on this particular case? Sean, any additional comments from you? We're good? His head shaking? Yeah. All right, no other public comment on this case? All right, thank you very much, and again, good to meet y'all again, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank y'all. All right, we'll move on to the final case, case number SU-04-26-01, Diane Miller, special use permit. This is her first workshop. Diane Miller, on behalf of David and Elizabeth Perdue, has submitted an application for a special use permit for two parcels identified as Madison County Tax Maps 66-5 and 66-5B. The proposed use is a private school in accordance with the Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 4-2-1 and 3-2-11. The proposed school will offer private cooking classes. In addition, the application proposed use of an existing building as a general store in accordance with Article 3-2-4 and Article 20-87. Mr. Nichols.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this property, a lot of you folks who have been here for a while, but say will know, right here off of 15 near the Orange County line, the main road used to go through here before they built the new bridge. And the general store, but say this is the general store that was there, and then the adjacent property to the south. These two are being sold together. So the applicant would like a cooking school for a tourism-related business. So like you stay the weekend somewhere and have your getaway with your date to do your cooking school, as it were. I mean, this seems to be a good idea with our tourism proposals, and I'd love for you to have the applicant unpack their business model because it's really fun.
Thank you, Alan. We'll start with you on this one since, no, you've got, and then the proposal, the PDRC proposal's in here as well, I believe.
This is the old T.O. Gillum store.
Oh, I didn't.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Diane Miller. Yes, as you said, I'd like to start a tourism business, a cooking school, and with a retail location. And the idea is to market it to people within a 3-hour drive of the site. Classes would take place over 1, 2, and 3 days to encourage them to come and spend the night. You know, frequent local restaurants. And then the property, the farmhouse, would host the cooking classes. And then the rest of the property would also include vegetable gardens and flower gardens so people can incorporate that experience of harvesting and getting outside and really having kind of a little mini vacation is what I'm hoping to offer folks. I could talk more, but I'll stop.
No,
As Zach knows.
That's great. And I thought the packet from the PDRC with the photos was in here, but I was incorrect on that, so apologies for saying that. Yeah, we'll open it up directly for questions for the applicant or Mr. Nichols.
We can get those in a second.
And actually, Alan, I was trying to, while she was talking, to find the definition for school, because that was the main, do you have that pulled up by chance, Alan?
Whose definition would you like? Mr. Whitman, I pulled up the PDRC packet that has
Oh, there you
these
go. There
things
we
on
go. Awesome. Would you mind going through this just for a hot second?
Sure. So, yeah, in the farmhouse, it was remodeled about 4 years ago, and there is space in the kitchen dining area to have a small cooking studio, a maximum of 12 students. And the idea initially to open would be 2-day classes. So you'd either come in the morning or you'd come in the afternoon and be out by 6. And again, stay over 2 days. That gives people an opportunity, one, to spend the night, hopefully in Madison, and explore the area. Initially opening up the front living room would be a small little gift shop. And then next spring, summer, the plan would be to move that retail into the Old Country store. And that is a combination of, you know, tools you use in class, housewares, kitchenwares, and then also potentially, I've been contacted by some local producers, like, oh, could you sell my stuff in your store? So it certainly would, you know, want to encourage and be open to that. You can see that red mark there. We would need to expand the existing parking lot to accommodate additional cars. As y'all know, or some of you know, there used to be a gas station there, so we take out that center pump island, and then there's another kind of curb island, and take that out so people can pull in straight into the parking. I also want to offer some craft classes. Again, initially, they could be offered on the second floor of the main bedroom. There's enough space to accommodate 10 students. There's a feed shed next to the country store. That could make for a really interesting art studio, you know, down the road, depending on renovation budget. and then again, that would be 10 to 12 students. But the whole idea is a real boutique, small scale operation, so people really feel like they're getting hands-on and one-on-one. So again, at most in cooking school is 12, craft classes might be 10 to 12. And then again, we've got that nice land behind the house that comes with the property, gardens, vegetable garden, flower garden, where it makes sense for the cooking classes, incorporating that so people feel like they really have this kind of harvest, back to nature experience.
Thank you. And Ellen, what I was trying to find was the definition for private school, and
I
I'm
got you.
having as much technical difficulty as the
No,
audio, so.
It's fine. Private school in our ordinance is defined as, it says, private school shall include private schools, colleges, or universities, private instructional/training institutions, which I think is where we've landed.
Exactly. And so during PDRC, there was quite a bit of discussion, and Mike was involved as well as Nancy from the supervisor side. And we had quite a bit of discussion on if that was the right fit. And then after hearing that and then what the applicant is planning, we thought that it was the correct choice. So that's why we went with the private school SUP for this hearing, or this workshop. All right, additional questions for the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple questions. If you get the cooking school going and the other things you want to do, and it's all going at one time, how many people do you envision that could be there if you're doing what you'd like to do at one time?
Sure, I think at one time, 30. So a cooking school instructor, assistant instructor, or a part-time person to help, prep and make the class run. And you have to always make sure people don't cut off their fingers in class. 12 students, let's say the class sold out, 12 students. The craft class, again, maximum of 12 people, so that's 24 craft instructor, 25 cooking school director, like I said, assistant, someone, one or two people working in retail. Initially, assuming I can open this fall, retail will just be really marketed just towards the students, the customers. In the spring, summer, I'd like to make retail open to the public.
So the red area that I'm looking at, is that what you intend to use for your parking lot?
Yes, I believe from I don't know what direction, but on the side of the feed shed to that red area, that's approximately 40 feet, I think. I can fit 40 cars based on the Madison County parking regulations. You guys lay out how big the spaces have to be if people pull straight in.
And one other question, when you cook the food, is it gonna be sold to the public or the people that cook it is taking it home?
The people that cook it take it home.
Thanks, Pete.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Mr. Carpenter?
In fact, it might be, I don't know, might be more directed at Alan right now. It looks to me like the Old Country Store is a seriously non-conforming use right now. It's a very small lot or parcel, and if I'm correct, it has not been used in that fashion for quite a few years. So it's not exactly something that's been in continuous use. The original part of this application, I think, is great. Agritourism, get some classes and stuff. But some of the future proposals might be stressing the limits of what we can do on A1 with that old building. I don't know.
So, if I may, the general store is a special use in the conservation district, so by extension, the agricultural district there. So it is a special use. And if we visit the non-conforming section of the ordinance, we'll go back to Article 13. That lot was lawfully created prior to the minimum size requirements, and the use in that building can continue. Now, there is a fair argument there that, let's say the use has been abandoned. But let me do a little more looking on that one and see. Given that the use would be permitted in that space, it's not like we would not permit that use in an A1 property because it is a special use there. You simply have a non-conforming lot size. I have a strong suspicion that I can support that this is okay to do there, but let me, I'll support my opinion coming
Okay,
up in the next one.
The other question I have here is her proposed retail sales in the country store don't match up with what our general store or country store definition is. It specifically lists a bunch of things that would be offered for sale, and I don't think that's exactly what she's talking about. So we may need to do some,
I believe that the list you're referring to starts with the phrase "such as"
Yes,
and gives
yeah.
examples.
yeah, but then it's talking about canned goods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's talking about an old general store.
Sure. I read that too and took a broad interpretation.
What is the actual size of that parcel that the general store is on?
Let's find out.
I know it's pretty small, but I don't think it was listed on
Oh, it's tiny.
yeah.
It's a tiny lot, no doubt about it. Where am I, Jack Shop? That's Rochelle. Let's go over here.
Yep, there it is.
What does it say? Can I read it somewhere?
That's why I was asking, because when I looked at it, there's no acreage given on that.
Well, we all know how good GIS is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do some plat research on it, but we'll see if we can get you a better number, but about a third of an acre.
Yeah, and if I may, I think the applicant, did you say you had it from your engineer or your surveyor?
It's, the two plots were being listed together for sale and listed it as 2.25 acreage. So I guess you could look at the other plot
I'm
and
sorry.
and subtract that. I haven't had it surveyed.
And the other one
yet.
the other one actually says 3 acres in the GIS.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3.25. I
Okay,
don't
I was
know why
gonna say,
said
you're
two.
getting- you're
I
getting
meant
around.
3.25.
Okay, so 0.25, quarter of an acre.
Yeah, and by the way,
Give or take.
the questions I'm asking Alan are not to say that I'm opposing this. They're just some concerns that I think might need to be addressed.
So one time, Alan, before this road came through here, was that all one parcel at one time, and they cut that little parcel out to move that store when they moved it?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I'm gonna do some deed research anyway to see how big it is, if there's a plat somewhere. We'll see if we can figure out when it was divided. I mean, I can probably tell you pretty quick, because they might have been on different, you know what, I think when we pulled the first deed on this one, they transferred together last time. So the quick info I'll have is that it was two parcels transferred together, but I'll look and see if I can figure out when it was done. Probably when we still had cursive writing on the deeds.
Illegible cursive writing, yeah. Is there any potential problem with the floodplain location here?
So
I know for a new house, there might be a problem, but an existing house used as a school, I don't know.
Jamie will be quick to tell you that you could definitely build something in the floodplain, but your requirements change as to what you have to do in order to build in the floodplain. Jamie, if there's new construction that occurs there certainly will be more extensive permitting required. In fact, anything, even something that would not ordinarily require a permit, some small structure or maintenance on the driveway or something like that, within the area within the floodplain, any work requires a permit. If memory serves, that is one that does not have a fee. But Mr. Wilkes administers the floodplain program and simply looks at what you're doing to not change the boundary of where the floodwater goes. It's usually a non-issue, but certainly new construction would require more extensive permitting.
And we did discuss that at PDRC, and in fact, you saw the updated map or gave that to your realtor or your?
I did,
Okay.
yeah, so the house is included in the floodplain.
Correct.
The store is not, and the house again, I believe it was an addition and some renovations to the kitchen and dining area. They were just done like 4 years ago. And I haven't looked this up, but someone commented during that meeting that they had been, met the floodplain requirements when those permits were issued just 4 years ago.
And actually, since we're talking the property here and the map's up, I'd asked you at PDRC, have you spoken to the neighbor that's very close to the store? Have you been able to meet them yet?
I haven't. I do have a letter ready to go out to them.
Okay.
It's three people, the 2 houses on the side, and then all the extra farmland around is owned by the same person.
Purdue, okay. Any additional questions? From PDRC to VDOT did not have any comments on this one specifically. And Jamie, y'all had a pretty thorough discussion, but everything would be going into the building code. I can't think of anything else. Mike, do you remember anything else that was specific to PDRC that was? Yeah. All right, any final questions? We're excited about all the applicant, or the things tonight, so this is another good one for the county tourism, so.
I'm excited too. Nervous, but excited.
All right, any public comment specific to this case? Seeing none, all right. Pretty easy one. All right, moving on, we have case number ZOA-02-26-02. This is the zoning ordinance amendment. Special use for a single-family residence in B1. This is the third workshop. Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 8, does not allow a single-family detached residence in the B1 zoning district by right or by SUP. Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 14-7, allows for an application to be made for a use not provided for concurrent with the application. Below, the Planning Commission is considering amending the ordinance to allow this use by SUP. Mr. Nichols? Anything to add?
Well, I mean, after our public hearing in which the case was tabled, it appeared that you all had more thoughts on the matter, and we're not ready to vote. So I think that that's up for your discussion. I will say that Mr. Carpenter sent an email with some suggestions. Chairman, you circulated that to the other members. And so I'm pulling that right now into something that we could process and modify, but certainly up for your discussion, because I think everybody got a chance to look at that.
Mr. Carpenter, you want to go through your brainchild there?
Yes, thank you. The takeaway that I had at the joint meeting was that, not that we failed to reach a consensus, but that we reached a consensus on 2 different ideas. And correct me if I'm wrong, but and I had some input from Cardi on this too. I think it's pretty clear that we have a consensus that we don't think residential use is appropriate in B1. And the other thing was that this applicant makes a really good case. All of us think, to be fair, this is a use that we probably should have available. So what I've suggested is instead of putting, I think it was like,
Make it bigger for you, but in red is your language.
82-12 or something like that, which would have an open-ended single-family dwelling as a SUP. Let's work on 8-2-2, and actually I'm going to reduce it even more as a following suggestion. I think the restriction clause should be first to indicate that that's the only uses it's for. So I would suggest for the use of the business owner, a family member of the owner, or a caretaker, an apartment in the principal building or an accessory building by change of use to a single-family detached dwelling. Essentially saying the same thing, but instead of a second sentence, I think that clause should be at the very beginning. And And also, and this is what Cardi mentioned, and I think that's a very valid point, this whole thing about an existing single-family detached dwelling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's a can of worms. I think we can get rid of that can of worms just by removing it. In any future cases where we're talking about B1, it's not appropriate to have residence. It's not what B1 is meant for. And as a separate item along the same lines, I think we should seriously consider removing 8-2-1 entirely. An apartment building is definitely a residence or residences. Also, one of the things that I would have removed, I used the term caretaker, I took out the term tenant, because tenant would imply that you're renting. And that opens us up to residential for rent in a business.
Good points,
So,
Mr. Clement.
those are my suggestions there.
Thank you, Steve. And actually, I'll take a moment, apologies, for the applicants in the room, if y'all would like to leave, you please do so. This could take some while, and y'all probably don't want to hear it. You're more than welcome to stay as well, but I looked up and saw y'all are still here, so.
Yeah, and by the way, this would solve our problem with the one we just looked at where
Right.
there's a dwelling there.
Exactly. Twice over, because it's the non-conforming and also this, so we kind of cover it twice.
Okay, so unpackaging, and I guess maybe your recommendation on the apartment. Alan, will we address that in definitions, or is it still a separate on the 8-2-1? I'm wondering if we'll get on apartment, will we expand on that in definitions where Mr. Carpenter's suggesting to remove 8-2-1B?
You are essentially doing an ordinance amendment, and we have not
So it has to- okay.
scheduled the next public hearing yet. So if you
Okay.
want to make a change like that, there's no reason why we can't strike
Just
the
throw it
change
in there.
and advertise it.
Okay.
But let me get Steve's thing up here on the screen for us to look at, and then I need to look at a couple other things before I can give you a good opinion on that one. I've got
Okay.
to cross-reference it.
I just wanted to unpack it, kind of going down sequentially. So 8- Steve, and review it one more time and make any group edits that we feel are appropriate.
Mr. Carpenter, in your language here, you say a family member of the owner, owner of the business, owner of the property. They can be different.
Okay, I would say owner of the business.
Thank you.
Stacy, do we have anybody else online or just Sean? Okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, While Alan's doing that, when I was looking at this, it occurred to me that the way the introduction to B1 is written, it implies that there should be no residences in there. So once something has been, except for an existing building that's already being used that way, we should not be saying for future B1 that an existing single-family dwelling is any longer considered a single-family dwelling for a residence. It's now a B1 property, so it shouldn't even be considered a single-family dwelling.
Okay.
For new.
Good.
I think,
Right.
you know, one of the things I like about this is that the planning commission then looks at each and every one, as they should, if it's a special permitted use and look at the setbacks and all the other indicia that we look at for any kind of a residential building. So that way, we're not arbitrary and capricious when we deny one and accept another.
And one other thing that came up in kind of our correspondence and questions, and this is probably more semantics, Mr. Nichols, but on these ordinances, we have the date, do we actually put the date in the ordinance text, or does it say, as you have it typed out, the date of?
Well, I mean,
Let's say May
this
2026.
becomes, as of the date it's adopted, what the ordinance is. We can annotate when it was adopted.
Okay.
That's easy.
Okay.
But if somebody's already doing this in a manner that conforms with the ordinance,
Yeah.
they get to continue.
Okay.
Just like we've talked about with the other house tonight, so.
All right, comments then on Steve's kind of first?
I got a question about that sentence there that's got or in it. What's or meaning?
Just the single one here?
Yeah.
I put Mr. Carpenter's first
Initial,
statement
yeah.
that he emailed on the top, and then down here below, I put what he revised. You all can pick what you like for advertisement if you choose, but I left the original, what Mr. Carpenter's first submission was, just for us to reference, because this is what you all got in an email. This is what was proposed tonight. I left them both up there.
Yeah, the second one's
So-
one that
so
Steve just
we'll pick
trimmed
one.
up.
Right, there was a little editing being
So if
done.
we pick the top one, we're gonna take or out of it?
If you pick the
It's
top
one
one,
or the
we're
other.
gonna strike
Yeah.
everything down here. If you pick the bottom one, we're gonna strike everything up here.
You have option A or option B, Pete?
But I mean, or if you
Or
choose to do
option
something
C, if
different.
you want to make another one, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just one real quick thing there, Alan. Do we need to change that to semi-detached dwelling? Because we don't have a definition for a detached dwelling in our
A
definitions.
semi-detached dwelling is attached by one vertical wall in the middle. A detached dwelling is one unit on its own lot,
Why don't we just call it a single-family dwelling then?
because
Because
you
both
do
of
not
them
want
are.
to make single-family detached, or semi-detached dwellings on there. You're going to allow for a standalone. Or you could open it up and allow for dwellings and allow anything, presumably, but, I mean, what we're running into is, you know, we've unpacked what Mr. Okerson is experiencing. Compare that with what, you know, other folks are experiencing. But I certainly would discourage the use of semi-detached.
And I guess, Mr. Nichols, to Mike's point, we will have a definition for single-family detached dwelling in our new definitions, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, so does that,
We'll
is
have
that,
one of our new definitions we'll talk about here in a minute.
was that more your point, Mike? We wanted to
Yes,
define-
yeah,
Okay,
mhm.
yeah.
All right.
Is there,
Oh,
Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead, Ann.
Cardi.
No, you go.
I'm just wondering why we would limit the property owner as well to have the opportunity to have the same rights as the business owner. And so it would be for the use of the landowner or business owner.
I think, I don't know, Steve, you can, it's your language, but I,
No opinion on that.
but if I'm hearing
If
everybody.
it's the same, it's not a problem. If they're different, I assume the business owner, well, no, that would be the business owner. The business owner always has to be the property owner.
If I took Mr. Elliott's comments from the last meeting, and we'll start there, and I believe, Pete, if I get you wrong, I'm sorry.
I've been wrong before.
What's that?
I've been wrong before, go
Yeah,
ahead.
me too, it happens. The idea is that somebody starts with like a home-based business, or, you know, let's say they've got their business and they live above it, or live in a room next to it, or whatever the case is, you know, you're stretching to get started on your business. And so the person who's owning the business can free up capital to grow that business and succeed if they're able to live on site. If you have somebody who owns the land and then leases it to a business, and then the owner of that land is now leasing a portion of it for somebody to live in, that's not for the same benefit of somebody who's got their, with the model that was expressed, where somebody's living next to their own business.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think here we're delineating very clearly that it's a family member of the business or landowner or caretaker of the landowner or business owner. And so we're very clearly saying that they can't lease it, that the landowner can't lease, the business owner can't lease. But I'm just trying to communicate that I think if we say solely just the business owner, then and that person is different than the landowner, we are stripping the landowner's autonomy in a way that they can't also live if they want to have a family member live on their own property, despite the fact that a business owner is using a building on that zoned property.
It's a fair point. I might agree with you. I have to think about it for a second.
The only potential problem I see with that, I think, I don't know, Cardi, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think the Board of Supervisors discussion was pretty clear that they're not interested in allowing loopholes for residences in B1.
Correct.
So I
That's
need
what
to
you
interpret
said
that correctly.
2 weeks ago, yes.
So I got, after thinking about this, this language, neither one of them up here is what I've got, that Zach sent me, or sent us, because the one I've got doesn't have anything to do about built prior to the date of the special use application. That's gone out of what I'm looking at. So I don't have any problem with allowing this if the structure exists already, but I'm not gonna wanna see somebody come in and build a structure, get it built, and then come in and apply for a special use permit. Built prior to the date of the special use application? No, I want that gone. I've got, or a single-family detached dwelling lawfully built prior to, and I've got month, day, year of vote, or an existing accessory building by change of use. That was the language I'm looking at here. What happened to that one?
I pulled Mr. Carpenter's thread. Let me see if I can find the one that you're on.
Well, while
Right,
Alan's,
Steve?
yeah, while Alan's looking at that, if I understand correctly, the date of adoption of an amendment
Yeah,
is published along with the amendment, is that correct? And that establishes thereby the date where this becomes effective.
Correct.
So we don't have to say starting with certain day, such and such a date.
Yeah,
That is the date.
correct.
And Mr. Nichols, may I throw a fly in the ointment maybe? And this is going back maybe to
All
Ann's.
right, I got you, Cardi, hang on.
You have my email now?
but why do
Yes,
we have built
I've
prior to
got
the
the
date
one
of the
that-
special use permit application?
I think that was in the original.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
Yeah, that was
And
an
I didn't
area
like
that
it.
we struck
Yep.
up here, all right?
See what I'm saying?
Here come the ones.
Huh?
This is what, this third one here is what the chairman sent around earlier today.
Alan, the question I have maybe that adds a little bit to what Ann's saying too is a business owner that isn't the landowner can't apply for a SUP unless the landowner is also attached to the application, like we had in this case tonight, correct? So a business owner that's leasing can't come in without the consent of the landowner, is that right? Would that prevent?
Yes, so the way that Mr. Carpenter wrote it in the second one is that, anytime we have a special use permit, the owner of the property has to apply for it.
Has to apply.
Yeah, somebody else can act as their agent, but it's in going through this process, because they want to do something on lease ground or ground they're going to buy, whatever, but the owner has to apply for it. So if we'll use the case at hand for the sake of argument. If I'm leasing the Mad Arts building from the Okersons, and I want to put an apartment in the building, or I want to, if it's use some portion of it for residence or convert the shed or whatever it is, Mr. Okerson would have to apply for that use for my benefit, leasing that property to do that. But that's a technical matter of any special use permit.
Okay,
It is
I
the
think
same.
Zach is a good editor. I think we can just say for the use of the owner, take out the business in this
Yeah,
case.
that's what I,
Good editing, yes. Shorter is better. In your case, Alan, would you be paying him for the use, for the rent of the apartment?
It doesn't matter.
It would for this, yes. That would make you a tenant, which is why we remove tenant from the use. Yeah. Now, if he makes you the caretaker as part of your lease.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Because you can be the caretaker or an employee,
Mhm.
in some way and still pay that person rent to live there. Maybe it's a reduced rate or whatever, but that meets the requirement of what you've put there. There's nothing that prohibits or encourages the exchange of compensation.
yeah, or it could be part of the salary, yeah.
Sure.
To live there. Okay, so Mr. Nichols, the third one is, I think, the one Cardi is referencing.
that?
This is the one you're referencing,
This is the one
right,
that
Cardi? That I
you sent to everybody this
disseminated.
morning,
Yeah,
yes.
the last one.
So Pete, we threw another one up there for you.
That's-
But you're concerned about the date at which it becomes effective.
Yeah, if the building already exists, I'll go with it. But you're not gonna go in there and build an accessory building, get that all done, and then come in and go, oh, I wanna do a special use permit and change it to a residence,
Okay?
right?
We'll put back a word.
Huh?
Or an existing accessory building by change of use, so that they're not,
Yeah.
not allowed to build
It's,
it.
right, existing, yes.
Okay. Alan, you-
And prior to the special use permit, I don't, that should be gone.
all right, we're adding a word back in.
Just existing.
Yes, Mr. Carpenter, what would you like?
In addressing Cardy's concern,
For 1, 2, or 3?
the middle.
Three.
Okay, the middle one.
The short one. In the last phrase, or an existing accessory building. So that we're not allowing them to build a new accessory building for this single
Or an
purpose.
existing accessory building, yeah.
And then the date is taken care of by the date of the amendment being approved.
Well,
One more.
existing accessory building, if somebody
Cardi being-
builds something in the future, somebody builds something next year, and then 3 years from now, they come in and they say, it's existing,
That's
as is
right.
my application.
Existing
And I-
as of today.
What, today's date? I mean, we're effective.
The time, it's when the vote is taken and it becomes an
The
ordinance.
ordinance, the ordinance
What about
becomes.
properties that have multiple different
needs a limit
businesses
would be
run
done.
out of them? Does that enable, let's say the owner's got a business
Turn your
there,
microphone on,
or
Clay.
rentals, yeah, there you go.
Get your microphone on.
What's that?
Let me hear you.
I have right here. What about if you have multiple businesses? You got an owner's got a business at the establishment, they're renting out a space, that enables each different party and entity to have a residence that's accompaniment? Is that right? It is. And that kind of goes against the original statement that you don't want
You
to
want
keep
B1.
residential in B1.
Right.
I appreciate the owner side of it, but I think there's gotta be some type of limiting factor on it so that it's not just a whole bunch of them. I've been waiting for Nathan, the whole time. What do you
We just
think?
nixed the whole thing like we did before.
Honestly, I think the third one is pretty much spot on as it is. The middle one we're adding, it doesn't really even say what you're doing. It references an apartment in the principal building or accessory dwelling, but it doesn't really say what you're doing with that or using it for anything. So, like I get what we're doing, but, and maybe not an owner, but, the owner, such dwelling to be used by the, business owner, whatever we want to shake that out. I'm all for not giving the tenant more rights than the property owner, but you almost have to in this case.
Mr. Chairman, if I can add a comment.
Please.
The only thing that gives me pause about the last one up here, and I'll say this because Hannon's not here to slap me, is that the built prior to and the month, date, year of vote, I think is going to give you means for somebody to say it was arbitrary. You did this to let somebody do a thing, and then you close the gate behind you, essentially.
No, like your body.
The ordinance is as a whole?
That's where it appears.
That's the way it appears. And so if the next guy comes along and they said, you know, prior to this, I mean, and especially, I don't know, but say that gives me pause when you put that date on there. I don't mind, however you all decide to do the rest of it, but if it's good policy today for this fellow, it's good policy for the next guy too. If it's bad policy today for this guy, it's bad policy for the next guy.
Mr. Nichols, if you can, advise all of us on the options for this particular case. If we abandon this case and the particular applicant, it's just not, it's not feasible at all, right? I mean, then it's just, B1 is no residence and everybody moves on, parties separate.
I mean, the issue at hand is that the applicant has asked to convert an existing accessory structure to a detached, single-family dwelling. The way the ordinance is written now, we do not allow that.
Don't allow it.
So you have the four options that are on the
Four,
screen.
yeah.
You can amend the ordinance to allow the proposed use by right. You can say, yep, it's okay for anybody to do this. You can amend the ordinance to allow the use by special use permit, which is what you're doing now, or what you've been working towards, which is you are amending the ordinance in such a way that allows this by special use permit. You could have the option to rezone the property to allow the use if there was an appropriate avenue to do that. In this case, because we have multiple uses, you could not create a conforming parcel in another zone that did not then prohibit the business uses, and that's counterintuitive. Or you can deny the use. So in the big picture, these are the four options. You all are actively pursuing option 2, which is to amend the ordinance to allow this by special use permit.
And is it safe to assume for everybody on the panel, 2 and 4 are probably our only two forks in the road remaining? I mean, it sounds like that's it, right?
Well, if you deny the use.
Then the ordinance
applicant
language is over.
Can move the stuff out of the top of the existing business, put it into the standalone storage unit, and convert the top floor to living quarters by right.
By right or by special use?
By special use.
By special use,
Special use.
but still, there's a path for the applicant in that, yeah. Yeah. All right. What, do we want to do a straw poll on if we're leaning more toward 2 or 4 at this point? Or do we want to try to get the language that Steve has kind of drafted, either 1, 2, or 3, to work? What do we think? Keep working on the language, or?
I want to know what Cardi thinks.
What's that?
I want to know what you think, other than what you.
Well, if we can't get language in there that this
Satisfied.
building has got to exist prior to this amendment, then I'm still a no. And we still got 3 no votes on the board
Right.
at this point.
And then on terms of the, Mr. Nichols, can we go back to the language? Let's just go to, on A, B, or C, or 1, 2, and 3 on the red text, which one are we favoring right now? A, B, C? C, what were, the last one? Okay, 3 or C, okay. All right, so on 3, it sounds like then, from staff standpoint, and probably all our realizations, that legal would be in perception, public perception. Pete, is that what you're saying? Would be our snag on this one as it is? Because we have to have the language in there to satisfy.
Well, you could put It's, okay, if we're trying to get rid of the month, day, and year, you could say apartment or dwelling located in the main business structure as a secondary use or an existing, now that's single-family detached dwelling lawfully built, or an existing accessory building. You just take the date out.
Yeah.
Just, you're gonna sprinkle existing, you know.
That still comes up with it, when is it existing?
It still reads a little funny.
But you get my
But
point.
if you struck this,
Huh?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but when is the existing part?
Exist prior to the amendment or not.
but you know,
That's right.
okay, so you take this on its face, right? And you're saying, or a single-family detached dwelling. You're just, you do your.
What's that?
This accomplishes the exact same thing as just adding single-family dwelling to
Niche.
the use on the bottom. If you leave it like this.
Okay, is existing gonna be enough to satisfy?
This whole sentence needs to be struck.
Real, basically, existing says if we're looking forward, this is a loophole we want to have closed. So the things that are already in place.
Or an existing
Well, I
accessory
mean, for
building that
example, you
changes
know
use
that
to
there are
single-family
people
detached
that
dwelling.
have stores in.
Like, that's where you're at.
They live on top of it.
Yeah, possibly.
Now, I don't remember if that's a B1 or not.
It's not, it's A.
Yeah, 'cause that came up in the,
How many situations are there multiple buildings on a B1 location where somebody originally had 2 or 3 houses there?
when I,
Not many.
I don't think there's gonna be that many.
But going forward, if somebody wants to change to rezone to B1, this would be very specific. You can't start adding little residential buildings.
And it goes back to the non-conforming that we talked about earlier, so.
An existing building.
Right.
Mr. Nichols, quick question for you, if I may. Is existing defined anywhere, either, I mean, my point is, if someone has a
Right next to
slab.
grandfather.
I mean, if someone has a slab out there and they say that's an existing slab, can I build, I mean, is that, are we gonna get into that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, think about the guy with the gray water down on the river.
Well,
It was existing.
Yeah.
It wasn't the use, but that's just what it was.
Occupancy permit,
that's what y'all would enforce with an occupancy
completed.
permit? Okay.
you know?
Okay, is that?
Would that language, yeah, satisfy
Anyway, or do we have to say
with an
that
occupancy permit?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that, but if you ask me what exists, you know, is not something incompleted, where somebody poured a slab, and then all of a sudden, well, this is now a shed, it's a slab on the ground, and I want to convert it to a house, now that I've forced, no,
Okay.
it's not.
And I guess in terms of enforcement, y'all would get that probably before the application, but if it came before both parties here, it would go through as a special use, so we'd have a chance to review that, both us and the Board of Supervisors, right? I mean,
Yeah,
So we could-
I
okay.
don't think that would get very far.
that's my point. I'm trying to think of what would pass muster. I don't think those
What we
would.
got?
One of the things, sorry, go ahead, Clay.
With his deletion up there, does that satisfy what you're looking for, Carter?
Apartment or dwelling located in the main business structure as a secondary use, okay, fine, or an existing accessory building by change of use. Yeah. Existing accessory building, yeah.
Okay.
And do we
Yeah.
need to,
So we're narrowed down.
From where
to
we are
C.
today, this changes two things.
What's that?
Where we are, the way things are with no changes.
Right,
This language changes two things.
yeah,
It limits who can occupy it,
right.
which I'm sure Ann's gonna expand on here in just a second. And it allows for the single-family detached dwelling in B1 if you want that,
If it already exists.
if it exists.
Yeah.
If a building of some sort exists that can be converted,
Correct.
then yes. So
Okay.
this does those two things.
and it's more than just converting. To satisfy Cardi, we should also explicitly say in the existing main business structure, because somebody could say, I'm gonna build a new main structure, and then I'm gonna put an apartment in it.
You can do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. by special
Okay, I'm
use.
just making sure
Yeah,
that
that's
it
fine. No,
satisfies.
that's fine.
Well,
Okay,
The mixed use, I love mixed use.
okay,
here's what, the language that it will be struck by your action, because we're modifying 8-2-2 is what has been proposed. So you're striking the apartment or dwelling located in the main business structure. The main business structure has been problematic for the applicant who's come through here, because he wants to use an accessory building. So do you want to keep that language as, let's see here.
I was just making sure that Cardi
Yeah,
had
that's
all the
there.
existings that he needed to be okay with this.
Okay,
And I think we do, right?
Yeah, apartment or dwelling located in main business structure.
And I think historically, that has been pretty common. So, you know, if you leave that in the way it is, that just says that, okay,
what else
this
are
is
we doing?
okay with what we're doing with the B1.
Mr. Nichols, staff, how do you feel?
Mr. Chairman, may I make one comment? I just,
Make a motion, please.
I was just gonna say, you know, generally for like an ordinance, if it's by right or just sort of like a governing piece of the ordinance, I think specifics are extremely important. For me, if it's by SUP, it's almost better to be a little vague than not, because, you know, the following uses for special permit, special permitted subject to securing a special use permit, you kind of have the word may in there where it's the specifics are going to be taken into account. And so if you have it too specific, it just seems like an applicant's going to meet it. I don't think it needs to be
I'm good with that.
any more specific, because it's going to be considered on a case-by-case basis.
I have a
How would
question.
you deal with that?
If you have a property with an existing accessory building, but doesn't have water and sewer, but I put a septic field in and water, and then I apply, there's nothing that prevents that.
To do a change of use, they would have to apply for that change of use to get permission to do.
You don't have to
So
get back to
the
it.
installation of wells and septic are permitted by the health department. And that's required whether it be for a residential use or commercial or industrial use. And systems are designed, Jackson, I'm sure can elaborate, let's say for the particular purpose. So when you do a change of use, because I believe the building Mr. Okerson has a bathroom in it, when you do a change of use, you apply for what the health department calls an SAP, a safe and proper, as a part of this change of use process through the building permit application, where the health department evaluates what the existing system was designed for and what it handles, and what the proposed use is, and is what's there acceptable, or are modifications required. So this is something that happens on every change of use that occurs where water and sewer are involved.
So the language by change of use implies that all that has to be done.
It's really inconsequential, because if you go to get a permit to build this thing out,
I mean,
It's-
they can make a barn there if they want to spend the money.
you know, the building code has a path to do an awful lot of things.
As it stands right now, the only real difference between choice 2 and choice 3 is the location of the clause that includes the restrictions.
It's not that different.
3, it's the last sentence, and then 2, it's the first phrase or clause.
Charge a caretaker living there.
And the other thing is the wording about the main business structure as a secondary.
The word was tenant.
And I think
We don't-
that's
we're taking
a
tenant
real good way to say it.
I mean, I think that's really the intent of why the language is even in here.
I don't want to rent it out. It's not the purpose of the business.
We're in favor.
What?
We're in favor.
Well, positive. I'm glad to hear it. We'll see what happens in the meeting. I mean, the comment was, and we discussed, and this is a substantial improvement, but the comment previously at the last meeting was, well, we shouldn't do any SUPs in the first place. We're doing too many of them. I mean, are we gonna go back down this path where we discuss this and at length and come up with something that is a good workaround? Is that where we're at on things?
You want to get, other option would just be denied, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Get the sword.
So I
pretty
ask
much where we
you,
were.
if I may, while we've discussed the special use permit at length and what you think should be here, now I ask you all to take a step back and look at our comprehensive plan and view what you have proposed for the ordinance here as a special use through the lens of the comprehensive plan. Does this change meet the goals of the comprehensive plan and the statement of intent of the B1 district? Those are the questions.
It would be, in my opinion, it does not. I think we need to deny it.
I think it does. I think it preserves our rural characteristics and way of life, and it works within the 29 corridor, and it helps small villages, and, I mean, it is multiple different avenues, and on top of that, there's heavy emphasis through the whole comprehensive plan on economic development, and this is one aspect of that.
Mr. Chairman, and I would agree with Clay on that. I think, it makes it easier to purchase and utilize business property and make it feasible to do that by being able to live there, being able to have somebody else there, collect rent, reduce payment, to the employee caretaker. And, just makes business more feasible, having multiple uses for the people.
It gets back to the spirit or the intent of the original B1, right? It does say in the ordinance, no residential use. Again, obviously, it looks like we're trying to beat this horse to make this happen for this one gentleman, but what they were saying, what else paid with good intentions, right? So what happens down the road, right? And to the point, you said, what is existing, what's not existing, and if you build something down the road. And then it gets back to the homeowner or business owner versus property owner. With Calvin, I think some of the business owners sometimes lease the property, has some right also. But then you have a property, you say, okay, I'm moving my family in here, this guy did this, right? And you got multiple, just like, they mentioned earlier, there could be multiple businesses on one side. We're really trying to we're trying to drive a square peg in a hole here. That would be just.
I agree that we probably are kind of defeating the purpose of zoning, but it also does meet housing, which is in the comprehensive plan, which we need more housing, and this isn't large-scale development. So
I may
Please.
add to
I
that,
gotta
Mr. Chairman, you defined where you wanted the housing in the comprehensive plan.
That's right. And I think, the question I had earlier, if you've got a building and you decide that you're gonna put in water and you're gonna put in sewer so it can be then converted to use as residential, I think that's answered in the flush language. No building shall be erected or altered. So that means that even under SUP, it cannot be altered or erected. It's got to be existing and qualify for conversion of use.
I mean, to add to that, I could have a doghouse that qualifies for a change of use if you go through enough steps to bring it up to snuff.
But you can't alter or change it to
Yeah.
get it there.
I personally feel there's enough language in the special use permit, and it sounds like the board behind us is willing to take the risk on it as well, that it has enough safeguards that it would fit. That's my opinion.
Yeah, any change of use is going to almost, even for an existing house that's already being used, it's probably going to require some changes.
Well, then that language is pretty clear, you don't want that to happen.
I think Mr. Dyer's right, too, that we're kind of perverting the ordinances, and B1's kind of getting a little bit slapped in the face here, but.
Well, he's also correct that, I may be wrong again about this, but I think there's a fairly substantial support for trying to
Stop
let
doing-
Mr. Okerson
Yeah.
do this use.
Yeah.
Is that?
mixed-use development is happening
Everywhere.
everywhere in the United States and in turn the world. The idea of having B1, and it goes back in history. How long? Since we're champion 250 now. We've been doing this since the start. This is not something new, or we're not cutting edge, we're just making more of this than what it is, and it does kind of circumvent zoning to some extent. But there's grandfathering, there's 74, 68, whatever year zoning was, and we just kind of make up the date all the dang time. This goes right along with what we're doing here in Madison.
Mr. Nichols, can you put the third red text up in case somebody wants to read it for a motion?
I don't,
No motion.
you don't
Do we
need a
need, we
motion.
do, we don't need on this one?
You
We
don't need a
Okay.
motion right now, sir,
Okay.
but that may be
I-
appropriate.
That we might
Pete,
be
go ahead.
missing here, if you stop to think about it, how many of these you think is already going on in Madison? I can think of quite a few.
Well, how many of these are already going on?
How many,
Got a zone B1?
I don't know, it'd take a lot of research, I guess. How many B1 parcels exist in Madison right now where there's someone living in a residence on the parcel?
I know of 3.
3, okay.
I mean,
Does it-
there's,
does
there's a
exist.
handful that I can think of, and
Yeah.
of course, and most of the ones I can think of existed prior to there being a zoning ordinance.
And I think we're simply acknowledging that those exist now by saying this is something that is a SUP available.
I'll finish with a little bit of political spin. Since we're talking about getting away from SUPs and we want property to be zoned correctly, do we think this may encourage more B1 rezoning from places that may be fitting B1? Because it's an easier step?
I-
We'll put a positive spin on this one, yeah.
What was
Right.
that?
Yeah, you're right.
What was that?
Look at it.
I'm saying, truly, if it makes it easier, I think Pete's probably the biggest champion on this, where we have SUPs, spot SUP instead of spot zoning. If this makes it easier for somebody to actually convert something to a B1 zoning to fit more appropriately, because it's a little more conducive.
We have somebody trying to do that right now.
There we go, yeah.
Was the house existing?
Alan's shaking his head. So let's do a straw poll. I think this horse is dead and bleeding and down to bones. Straw poll, let's do 2. Do we want to do, an amendment statement? First one, do we want to do the amendment for the SUP, or do we want to deny? I guess that's the first straw poll. So all those in favor of denying this completely, say aye. Okay, all those opposed, nay. And then,
Where did we land on the straw poll? Because we won't be able to go back and look at it later. We're having recording problems. So if you do show of hands, I'll take
okay.
a note.
We'll do show of hands, and then Mr. Nichols will count. So back to deny, in favor of denying this. Raise your hand if you're in favor of. All right, and if you're opposed to the denying route, raise your hand. Okay. And then, I guess that on this language then, number 3, does it sound like number 3 is the way we want to go? Okay, I see head nods. All those in favor of number 3, raise your hand for this text amendment change. Was that unanimous, other than, okay, and then if you're opposed, I guess. Mr. Dye.
Is that with deletion?
With deletion, yes, Clay, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
If you want to
Yeah,
modify,
at least another solid hour and a half of discussion.
If we could change it to
if
blue,
you want to
then-
modify anything else, either schedule it for another workshop or tell me now before we advertise this thing. So if you want more discussion or modification, please tell me.
Yep. We have 2 head nods behind us. I think we're good to publish this language with the deletion, as Mr. Jackson
And you liked
stated.
number 3, correct?
3 with, exactly as written with the deletion.
Boom. All right, we'll take that out, and
All right.
then you are going to,
Main business structure.
yeah, we're going to kill this one
Do we need to,
here.
do we need to read it to be official, or is on text is fine?
As written, we're going
Okay,
to publish
as
it.
written. Perfect.
And then we're gonna leave that there, because we will strike 8-2-2 and replace it with the language that is here. I'll make it work, and I'll format it later.
And Alan, what about 8-2-1?
We'll have to do that as a separate amendment.
You do not have to do it separately. You could strike it here should you choose to, because we are going to advertise for a zoning ordinance amendment. So if you would like to strike 8-2-1, now is a good time if you feel that way.
We want to do a straw poll, that was just a real consistent straw poll on delete, those in favor of deleting 8-2-1 completely, raise your hand.
I'm in favor of recommending deletion.
In favor of recommending deletion of 8-2-1.
Is that unanimous?
Is there anyone opposed? I think it was unanimous. Yeah.
We can count on you with these.
All right,
Add an exclamation point.
very good. All right.
All right,
Take care of this one.
moving on our last bit of business tonight. Definition updates related to R3 and R4 amendments, the second workshop. Staff is proposing amendments to selected definitions within Article 20 of the Madison County zoning ordinance that directly relate to the pending R3 amendments and the establishment of the R4 zoning district. The purpose of these updates is to modernize terminology and align key development-related definitions with language commonly used by real estate professionals, planners, and developers in current practice. These revisions are intended to ensure clarity, internal consistency, and a shared understanding of terms as the county moves forward with the proposed R3 and R4 framework. This workshop item will focus solely on those definitions necessary to support the proposed zoning amendments, with a broader ordinance-wide definitional audit to be considered at a future date. Mr. Nichols.
All right. Who had fun coming up with new definitions? All of you? Okay, cool. Great. First of all, thank you to Jim Smith, who found a wonderful resource for this, a book of, or a dictionary from the American Planning Association to pull from. So I have sorted that, and I will find a way to share the document with you
400
going
pages.
forward, so that way you all can look for yourself. But I have pulled, the items that are in green in here came from APA. So what you have in front of you. I made a handful of changes after our last discussion based on what some of you found ridiculous, which is fine. And I've added some new things here for your consideration. So last time, we went through these one at a time, and we just knocked them out. If you'd like to do that again this time, I'm happy to facilitate that discussion, and we'll just go one by one and go through them if you would like, Mr. Chairman. Or if you want to do something different, tell me that.
I think everybody preferred what we did last time, was one by one. Everyone in agreement with that? We'll let him bust through this. All right, you're driving the train, and we'll comment as needed.
All right. Well, I know you will. That's fine. I'll still be here in the morning. So, dwelling, let's make this a little bigger, we can see it easier. I'm assuming you all have this in the packet, so we'll start here. We had presented two definitions last time. The new one to be added for dwelling, or to be considered for dwelling from APA, is a building or structure or portion thereof designed for occupancy by one family for residential purposes as a single housekeeping unit. In no case shall a motorhome, trailer, coach, automobile, chassis, tent, or portable building be considered a dwelling. I like this particular language because we do not allow RVs to be used as residences in Madison County. And in defining what a dwelling is here, that includes language of exclusion of that, especially an existing recognized definition from APA that excludes that, makes enforcement efforts much easier when we present these cases in court, that we show something that excludes those things, and so that helps a lot. So as I reviewed the APA dictionary, this one really stood out as a good option. So your thoughts?
Let's ride with that.
Looks good, yeah, cover all bases.
What did they say? I'm sorry. What did Clay say?
I heard murmurings of looks
No,
good.
it looks good, it covers all bases. Takes
Yeah, I
care of
was-
what we need to do.
I think it's also really good at identifying that we are limiting how we determine what can be seen as like a camp of people who are living in a space seemingly in a more of a I'm trying to use appropriate.
The word gypsy.
Yeah, gypsy.
Gypsy, yeah, got it.
So we aren't, we are saying that that's not an appropriate use of a dwelling. So I know Mr. Smith has made some comments about some of the potential influences of state pressure, and I think this kind of gets to some of our concerns in regards to those, some of those issues too.
Mr. Nichols, if we could add gypsy to our ordinance, it'd be great. I mean, we're
I
probably
would
the only
actually, I
county
would
that-
love that.
Offline, we can talk about some Charlottesville problems later about that, but,
You'll have to put a definition in for it, though.
I will not. So if we like dwelling, I think that's a good spot to start. So we have attached dwelling. We had our previous definition from the illustrated concepts, or a dwelling which is joined to another dwelling at one or more sides by a party wall or walls. So whether it be over, under, like a duplex, or a side-by-side, an attached dwelling. I preferred the first definition on this one, one-family dwelling with ground floor outside access attached to two or more one-family dwellings by common vertical walls, because in common language, this is differentiated from semi-detached dwellings, or villas, as some people would call them. And so when you're talking about the uses you allow, the first definition seemed to fit our goals better. But this was an APA one that seemed most appropriate out of that particular dictionary.
And I'll counter Mr. Cowan's comments from earlier where, you know, specificity is, I'd say, more important than the definition. So I agree. My personal one is the first one is a little bit more robust.
Yeah, I also think that in the second definition, we are opening to like second level, third level apartments. And I think in keeping in mind our comprehensive plan, I'm not really sure that that would necessarily be in alignment with that. So I think the first one, the top recommendation is more in alignment with what we kind of see for the county.
Got it.
The ground floor outside access, in one according phrase.
In one family.
Alan, I have a quick question, because we will be kind of cherry picking definitions from different sources. Are we going to maybe have a narrative in regards to how we have used the reference material to come up with the definitions that we want? Like, are we going to designate that we are using the comprehensive plan as kind of our filter of how we are defining these, in addition to standards and practices from APA or the Mouskowitz and Lindblom references? Do we need to say that, just so they don't think that it was back to the question about, are we cherry picking, are we limiting, are we allowing things to happen for certain people or for certain instances when we pick these definitions? Can we clearly state that in this?
My intention when we go to public hearing on these things is to put in my staff report the why behind the what, and that we picked from specific sources as they met our needs here. If you're talking about adopting a narrative into the ordinance that explains how we got there, that may seem excessive, but I'm open to that discussion. But it is helpful because our definitions and like how we got here, the definitions in there now often don't mean don't mean what they mean in other development circles. And so when we do permitting or enforcement efforts, that creates a rub. And so we don't want to get in a situation where I deny somebody their zoning permit, or write somebody a violation for something, and we go to court and we say our definition is this, and the applicant says this is ridiculous because this means this. And so we're using recognized sources to clean those things up. So that's how we got here. But if you want to say why one definition over another, we can certainly expand on that.
I'm not saying one or over the other. I would just say maybe that we agree that when we're making these determinations, as a body, that we are not just using the reference as kind of a dictatorial or doctrinal appropriate definition, but also we're using the comprehensive plan to support which one we're choosing. That is our criteria, really.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would say, let's have it, the second one.
No, I mean, that's,
That's good, except for I would add that the ordinances are authoritative, the comprehensive plan is suggestive.
but I certainly agree with you that, yes, that's what should be in our mind as we're selecting these things, is what is what's there, but do you want me to do something different?
No, I'm still learning.
Okay.
I think
Well,
Anders
me
defined
too.
our
Here we
mission
are.
statement for this particular
at that.
thing, so, yeah. It was good, it was a good point.
So I'm working on multiple family dwelling right now.
So we can go to the next one, multiple family. We have the existing one from Moskowitz, and the new one from APA on this one is a building or portion thereof designed exclusively for occupancy by 3 or more families living independent of each other in individual dwelling units. The reason why it starts at 3 is because we have the term duplex as well.
Mr. Nichols, may I ask a question? And Mr. Smith, maybe you have one, and y'all can throw things at me too to shut me up. But has Richmond defined anything with some of these new laws that are being proposed on multifamily, since that seems to be their push? I mean, have they stated it's X, Y, Z, or they just use multifamily?
And, I'm sorry, please tell me.
And any of the legislative proposals that didn't pass, did they have a new definition on
So
multifamily or anything like that?
the legislative proposals that we've looked at reference multifamily.
Yeah.
But I've not gone back and looked at the state code of how they're building that out.
Okay,
And referencing it, but I can link that up for you
I just didn't know if they
another
had,
time.
if Richmond has got a,
I do want to say that Mr. Gregg sent me a message,
Two or
and he says we don't have a legislative history on the narratives, and believes that we should not include lengthy narratives as a part of our definitions, but keep it to the point there. Sean, if I misrepresented you, please tell me. But that's what I've got in front of me. So, very, very good.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this one.
Please.
So even though we do have a definition for duplex, can we, I personally would like to see it have 2 or more, even though, because is duplex going to cover everything that would be multifamily? Because I looked up several other definitions and it said 2 or more.
Okay. If you find your source of the definition that you like, let's say, and let me know, I'm happy to adopt that one. We'll consider wherever that source came from.
So do you think duplex will cover everything between 2 and 3?
Duplex is 2. It's for 2 units.
And multifamily is not 2?
Well, if we adopt a definition of multifamily that includes 2, it can. So if you have a source for multifamily that you like, please send it to me and we'll put it up.
I had when my computer died.
do it tomorrow.
It doesn't have to be today, let's say, because this is not super
It
urgent.
did.
So we certainly can run through this, let's say, or at least the ones that we haven't settled on. Again, multifamily one we can look at. So if you want to send us one for consideration, I'll happy to send to the planning commission and we'll talk about it.
This is kind of in the weeds, Alan, but the Moskowitz definition includes specifically the idea that units can be one over another, so we can be talking about a 3-story or it could be 6 stories potentially.
Yes, let's say that,
Is that good or bad?
those are things. I mean, a multifamily building can be multiple stories and be stacked on top of each other. Yep, that's a thing. We're not saying whether we want it or not, we're just
Right.
saying what is it?
Well, the way we define it can kind of control whether it becomes allowed.
But remember, in our districts, we have, maximum height restrictions.
Yes.
That controls how tall you can make something. So you're not gonna get over a certain height that way. So you have other ways to control, you define what it is, and then using the other criteria of the ordinance, you decide what it can, and to what extent it can be used.
Well, I mean, the second definition says, or the newer definition says the same thing without specifically saying that you can go up.
There's nothing saying that we can't merge the two as long as we cite both sources, right? I mean,
All I ask for, respectfully, is a definition from a
Cited
recognized
sources.
source.
okay.
So don't mix or match yet.
Yes, I would strongly discourage you from creating something whole cloth or doing major modifications, even minor modifications, because that's part of how we got in the situation that we're in now.
Does the APA define what living independently of each other means?
Does the EPA define it?
APA.
Oh,
the-
APA. I mean, other than just commonly apart from, so not within the same, not within the same unit. And we define dwelling unit in a moment.
Okay, just
Are there,
making sure.
anyone have a particular leaning on this one? I
In
kind of
fact,
like
it
this.
says of each other in individual dwelling units. And then we define what a dwelling unit is. So, yes, the trail is there.
I
Follow the
personally like
breadcrumbs.
the added text from the APA. Does everyone agree on that one? Agree? Okay.
You
Yeah.
like the APA one? And then, Mr. Snyder, just so I can make a note for myself, do you intend to send me another one to come back to this?
I don't guess it's that big of a deal. I mean, I just like the 2 and not 3, but personally. I can find it and send it to you and throw it out there if you want to. It's easy enough to find. All I had to do is look for a multifamily dwelling, and it came up with all kinds of different definitions. But none of the ones that I found said started at 3. They all started at 2.
Okay.
So send him one.
Yeah.
All right. Change from our, let's see, I will go through each of them if you like, but otherwise I'm going to skip to what's new from last time.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Townhouse. We're all excited, right? I had said in the original one that we would reference the attached and semi-detached, but we do use the townhouse language an awful lot, so here's what APA has to say. A one-family dwelling unit with a private entrance, which is part of a structure whose dwelling units are attached horizontally in a linear arrangement and having a totally exposed front and rear wall to be used for access, light, and ventilation. I'm very comfortable with this definition for a townhouse. But I will ask Mr. Schneider, who had strong opinions, if he concurs.
I just think it gets really in-depth. Access of light and ventilation and all that, I just think it goes too far, but whatever.
If it didn't have that, it'd be a pillbox.
Beg your pardon?
I've been in places that didn't have that.
A pillbox.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's different.
Keep your prison stories to yourself, Jim.
So, but I like this over some other ones that I've seen because this one uses townhouse as a one-family dwelling unit, so as opposed to multifamily. Yeah. All right, further discussion? All right, what else did we update? That is what we had updated from last time. Look at us, making progress.
Not bad.
All right. Further discussion, or Mr. Chairman, what would you like?
Any additions or feedback on the process? Nope, I think everyone's pretty happy. Good job, Mr. Nichols.
Are we happy enough to advertise for a public hearing, or would you like more discussion on this later? Do you want to reserve that for a day or two and see what Mr. Snyder would like to distribute?
No. Mike is,
Okay.
he's conceded. Conceded, not conceded. You've made a concession,
I didn't know
Mike.
we
That is
defeated him.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is correct.
All right.
All right.
So you're gonna stay with three then?
Fine with me.
Okay,
All right.
staying with three.
No email needed, so yes, I think then everybody, we're okay to advertise this, Mr. Nichols? Can advertise it? Yeah. Go ahead, Alan.
All right.
It's 9:00, you can take my kids if you want. All right, but information correspondence, there's nothing, I think we need to add specifically. If you want to go over any of the upcoming, public hearings or workshops, feel free to read that. I do want to do one thing. I want to thank Stacy for filling in, while Alan was out on vacation. She handled the agenda review and the PDRC, so thank you for doing a little extra on that one. You did a great, no, you did a great job, so thank you for that. Any general public comment? Got nothing? All right. Press is silent, so it's time to go. All right, do we have? Do we have a motion to adjourn? All right, the motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, thanks, everybody.